You know, there's a question that humanity has feared to ask for generations. What if the prison was never physical? What if the bars were invisible? What if the greatest illusion ever created was the belief that we were powerless, disconnected, divided, temporary, or alone? Tonight we go deeper. Not so much into conspiracy, although, because believe me, there's been a conspiracy against us ever since we were all born, before we were born. More into the consciousness, into the war, into the war on perception. Because whether through governments, media, fear, greed, addiction, distraction, tribalism, or endless noise, the pattern remains the same. Keep humanity asleep. Keep humanity divided. Keep humanity disconnected from who they truly are. Because that moment a human being remembers who they truly are, everything changes. The conspiracy against you since before you were born paints a dark vision of manipulation, a world controlled through fear and poison, division, and illusion. And while some of his claims are extreme and symbolic, the deeper hidden, the deeper truth hidden underneath is something humanity has wrestled with since the beginning of civilization. The battle between fear and awakening, between illusion and truth, between domination and spiritual freedom. Because history has always shown us the same reality. People are easier to control when they forgot their divine nature. Or maybe it's why the ancient wisdom traditions all repeat the same message. Just as Jesus said in the Gospel of Luke, the kingdom of God is within you. Not someday, not somewhere else. Within you, always and forever. And it's eternal. And that changes everything. Welcome back, all you wandering souls, to the Wandering Soul Podcast. My name is Vince, and this is episode 12, believe it or not. And I'm excited to explore this topic with you today. This separation, this illusion of separation from who you truly are. But before we get started, please help us grow this channel and spread this word far and wide by liking and subscribing, because I truly appreciate that. Now on to the illusion of separation. I wanted to acknowledge that some of you may recognize that some of the messages I have touched on before. And I acknowledge that. But you see, there's a plot thread here that God keeps showing me. And so I do my best to perhaps wrap it in some different stories that you may not have heard before. And a big reason for that is it's extremely important that you understand who you truly are, because there will be consequences. And please understand, this is as much for me as it is for you. I too must continue to grow and understand my true self and my true abilities and my path and my true purpose. So the illusion of separation. From the moment we were born, the world teaches us you're this race, you're this class, you're this religion, this political side, this nationality, this status, this bank account, or this body. But what if those were all temporary costumes, temporary masks? What if beneath all of it was something eternal? Pure consciousness, pure spirit. Fragments of the same divine source having a human experience. The illusion only works if we remain identified with the mask. Because when humans realize that we're all connected to one another spiritually, emotionally, energetically, consciously, fear begins to collapse. And systems built on fear cannot survive awakened people. That's why division is constantly amplified. Fear sells, anger spreads, outrage controls attention. But love, unity, compassion, those things liberate. The book of Genesis tells us humanity was created in the image of God. In Genesis 1:27, think about that. If humanity carries this divine essence, then convincing people they are worthless, powerless, sinful beyond redemption, or disconnected from God becomes the ultimate form of control. Because a person disconnected from their spirit will search endlessly outside themselves for identity, in possessions, in validation, in status, in consumption, in tribal conflict. Well, they search outward, they never look inward. This is why they fear awakened people. The transcript repeats one central fear over and over. They must never know. But what exactly must humanity never know? That together we are powerful. That consciousness shapes reality. That fear weakens perception. That division is engineered. And most importantly, that love is stronger than control. Because an awakened person is difficult to manipulate. A spiritually grounded human being cannot easily be consumed by propaganda, hatred, greed, or manufactured fear. They begin asking deeper questions, like who benefits from division? Who profits from this fear? Why are human beings constantly pushed towards distraction instead of reflection? Why are we taught competition before compassion? Because if humanity truly understood its interconnected nature, entire systems would transform. Wars would become harder to justify. Exploitation would become harder to normalize. Hatred would become harder to sustain. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." Notice what he's saying. The true battle is not human versus human. It's consciousness versus darkness. Awareness versus illusion. Spirit versus domination. And maybe the greatest deception ever created was convincing humanity to fight each other, instead of confronting that fear, greed, hatred, corruption within themselves. You see, you're not just a body. Modern culture obsesses over the external, the appearance, money, achievement, possessions, but none of those things are even real. Your body is temporary. Your spirit is not. You're not merely flesh and bone trying to survive a meaningless universe. You're consciousness experiencing form. A spiritual being navigating a human story. And deep inside, most people already know this. That feeling of intuition, that voice that's warning you, the unexplainable connection between souls, that moment during prayer, meditation, grief, or love where time itself seems to disappear. Those moments remind us there's something beyond the material world, something eternal, something sacred. And maybe that's why fear is pushed so aggressively. Because fearful people forget the connection to the divine. But love reconnects us. Forgiveness reconnects us. Stillness reconnects us. And truth reconnects us. So how do we break the illusion? Not through hatred, not through paranoia, not through becoming consumed by darkness, because becoming obsessed with evil only chains the mind to fear, to worry, to doubt. We break the illusion by remembering who we are, by reclaiming consciousness, by rejecting division, by loving one another despite every system designed to separate us, by protecting our minds, by questioning our narratives, by seeking wisdom, by reconnecting spiritually, and by understanding that every human being we encounter carries the same spark of life, the same breath, the same source, the same creator. Jesus said, "The truth shall make you free." It was in John 8:32. Truth is dangerous to systems built on illusion. And perhaps the greatest truth of all is that humanity was never meant to live in hatred and fear and separation. We are meant to awaken together. Because maybe the real awakening is not discovering hidden enemies. Maybe the real awakening is discovering the divine within ourselves and within each other. Because once humanity remembers that we are all connected, spiritually connected, the illusion begins to crack. The fear weakens. The hatred loses power. And the systems that survive on division become trembling. You're more than a consumer, more than a political identity, more than a body, more than a label. You're a consciousness. You're a divine spirit. You're a part of something eternal. And maybe that is exactly why they're hoping you'll never remember. Thank you for allowing me to share this message with you today. Until next time, go in peace and God bless.